Algebra 2 skills number 43, logarithmic equations. Let's get you a definition here. Logarithmic equation is simply an equation that has a variable and at least one logarithm. Okay, often you have multiple logarithms. If so, you want to generally get those to one side. Now there is one exception. If you have exactly one log of the same base, you can just set them equal to each other and just set the two arguments equal to each other, but you don't see that a whole lot. So generally we want to get the logs to one side, condense if necessary, change to exponential form, and solve. Okay, so let's see some examples. Here we don't have to do the first two steps. There's only one log, so we're going to go ahead and change the exponential form. Now you need to know how to do that to be able to solve these. 3 squared equals x minus 2. 3 squared, of course, is 9, and just solve. So add 2 to both sides to get 11. So not much difficulty there. Here we do have multiple logs. Now they are to the same base. In this video, we'll only concentrate on logs to the same base. So we need to know how to condense. So if you subtract 2 logs of the same base, you can make that 1 log if you divide the 2 arguments. Again, change to exponential form. 8 to the third power is 512, and just multiply by 5. So 2560 for that one. Third example, again, you're adding 2 logs. Now here's a common log. That's log base 10. You don't visibly see the 10. If we're adding 2 logs of the same base, you can multiply the arguments, make it 1 log. So 10 squared, that 10 right there comes from right there. 10 squared is 5x squared. Now just solve it. 10 squared is 100. And then just use your algebra. So divide by 5, take the square root. Now be careful where the x comes from. In this case, it should be plus or minus the square root of 20 because it gets squared in there. You don't want a lot of negatives in logs. You don't want a negative base. We don't want generally a negative argument. We want, now here, if you put negative in that x, it makes it positive. So okay, now the number on the outside of the log can be negative, but not the other two. What I mean by that is this can be negative. We don't want this negative or this negative. But this fourth simple example, it just has variable in different place. And again, there's only 1 log, so it's more like example 1. Just change forms. And now we resort to earlier algebra. This is a polynomial equation of power 3, so we're going to take that root. Or you can think of it, if you want to, as a 1/3 power, which is a previous video. But that's going to change that to x equals 4. So it's logarithmic equation.